Okay, folks, this is Roy Humphreys, the Rowland Heights advocate, editor of the Rowland Heights Gazette, and purveyor of all things Rowland Unified School District. Why? Because they take a lot of our tax money. And so I have been doing the recording of these various sessions that they have. One's called LCAP, that's Local Controlled Accounting Program, which supposedly allows the district professionals and the board and so forth to communicate with the community and come up with a plan to best spend the monies that they get from the state and their various other sources. And this is a session on parts 1 and 2 of their report. And they did parts, I believe, was 3 through 6 on the last one. You can see that earlier it was recorded. And next, if the district really goes into the 21st century, they keep talking about it, but again, talk's cheap, right? Of coming up and making educational videos so that persons on both sides of the freeway, the north and the south, if they choose to, have the opportunity to find out what LCAP is and how it works, and they'll get some idea what this report's all about. Because the state has thrown up its hands, say we're not going to be giving all these funds and blocks, all these various categories. We're just going to throw it down to you. You want to do local control accounting and funding and so forth? Do it, okay? And then you have nobody to blame but yourself, the district. If they mess it up, the county doesn't account for the monies properly, boom, got nobody to blame but yourself. Okay, here's hoping, and you got to stand by for the meeting coming up that comes up after this. Boom on the video, and David Malcolm shines like a new penny. Okay, talk to you later.
March 8th, 2016. I need a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular board meeting of Tuesday, March 8th. I have a first by Carrie Chin. Second by Lynn Edenkamp. Any items to be pulled or amendments?
Yes, thank you. There is an amendment to item 9A1, approval of the minutes for Tuesday, February 9th. The recommended motion incorrectly indicates approve the minutes for the regular board meeting of Tuesday, January 9th, and it should read on Tuesday, February 9th. That is a correction. There's also a request of staff to pull an item from discussion action. Staff requests that the item, correct to get my number, staff requests that item C from discussion action, approve agreement between the Rowland Unified School District and Bobernick Shrine Day and Company be pulled from the agenda.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have 3 items.
Mr. Malkin?
One that's already been mentioned, 9A, one approval of the minutes. 9B4.
Are you asking that the correction be corrected, amended, or pulled? Dr. Mitchell said that it would be amended. Okay, thank you.
So can I clarify, Mr. Malkin, the amendment you'd like to make to the February 9th minutes, is it rather than pulling that item, you'd like that recognized to be amended to include that the Heart and Soul event was sponsored by the Hacienda Heights Kiwanis Club?
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And so we can make that amendment.
Okay, thank you.
And then 9B4, Williams report.
For pull?
I'd like to pull that.
Okay. Is your mic on? We can barely hear you. Sorry.
Right about that. And 9C, 18 warrants.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So then, Mr. Chin, would you rescind your motion, please?
On the motion to...
I need you to rescind your original one. Yes. Okay, thank you. And so we have Mr. Chin rescinded his motion, Ms. Edenkamp rescinded her second. So then I would like to call for a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular board meeting of Tuesday, March 8th, 2016 with the following corrections and modifications. For amended item 9A1, pulled item 9B4, and pulled item 9C18, and pulled item
Discussion action 8C.
8C.
That was 9C 18 for boards.
Yeah. And pulled item 9C, right? 9C.
For me, it's 8C.
Oh, 8C, there it is. Item 8C. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, did I get a first? Can I get a first? I have a first by Carrie Chin,
I second.
second by Ms. Evankamp. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And next we will go into our LCAP mid-year progress overview of goals 1 and 2. Dr. Mitchell?
Thank you very much. So this afternoon, Teresa Healy will be presenting to the board a mid-year report on our LCAP goals 1 and 2. You'll recall that at our previous board meeting, we did goals 3 through 6. So we took it a little out of order as we were waiting for some data and some information. And so at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Teresa Healy.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Mitchell, members of the audience. We're back again. It feels like we're becoming old friends talking about our LCAP. Tonight, as Dr. Mitchell said, we're going to talk about goals 1 and 2. And if you read the LCAP, these are the most key parts of our LCAP. It's very much the core business of what we do as a district, educating our kids. I want to first thank our in-services team, again, for not only putting this presentation together because this is our work, and so it's an opportunity to share with you what we do day in, day out, many of our projects and work that we do with our schools. But I just want to thank them for the effort to put this project together and to share with me information. Is this microphone on? Okay. But all right, where we go. So as we continue on, again, these are state federal initiatives. These should be up on the new slide to you. So as we look at transitioning to our Common Core state standards, transitioning into our new ELD standards, transitioning into the next generation science standards, including our 21st century framework and skills into our curriculum and methods of instruction, including our Smarter Balance assessments, including our NCSC assessments, which we haven't seen yet, and then looking at how we fund our schools with LCAP dollars, bringing that all together and how we can work with our kids to serve them. A reminder of some new local initiatives for us this year, the California College Guidance Initiative, the CCGI. This is a piece for our counselors mostly and our teachers to help students steer themselves towards college and become college ready. Our PBIS, or Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports process. We have 8 of our schools that are going through that process right now, and that's about creating behavior support for our students and changing cultures at our schools. And then a new project for us that we refer to not very often this year, but you will hear lots about soon, is the Future Ready, and that's preparing for our technology transition. Again, a reminder that as we look at our LCAP, we are required to meet the 8 state priorities. Starting up at the top, if you circle to the right, we have our basic needs for our students, implementation of the state standards, parent involvement, student achievement, student engagement, school climate, course access, and then our other student outcomes, and those are locally defined outcomes that we can do. As you look through the LCAP and as we wrap up sharing with you about all 6 of the goals, you will see that we have touched on each of these areas multiple times. So a reminder again about our LCAP timeline. In February, last month, we shared with you about our goals 3 through 6. Gave you that update and that information. Today we're here to be sharing goals 1 and 2. We don't come back to you until until May, where we will share with you our draft review and actually some of the information about how we're progressing in the revision. Because during the month of April, actually March and April, we're gathering information from our LCAP team and our council. We are out in the community, and we'll share a little bit about where we've been and what we've done to talk to our community and get input and feedback. And so that's actually our writing time to come back in May to share with you the draft. So that's why we're kind of skipping the goal as well. So as we go into goal 1, I hate reading slides, but I'm going to read the goal. Academic achievement for all students, providing comprehensive, well-rounded, rigorous educational experiences for all of our students, which are supported by engaging teaching strategies and sustained by high-quality professional development for staff, including all schools support for our students. Sorry, I lost the one there. You can see here we have the class of 2027, and this was a couple years ago. The students are now 5th graders, but it was important to instill that college-going experience at Homewood. And then down below you see happy Giano students that are ready to learn, and they're looking for the camera, as you can see. So in our goal number 1, we talk about curriculum assessment. That's a big area for us. That's a lot of our work is in that area. And the first one is about providing the core subject instruction materials for all of our students. TK5, we have a new adoption for math this school year. If you recall, we went through a pilot process and adoption process last school year. Those materials are in place with our students. We provided professional development for our teachers. We provided support both during regular PD time, supporting that, but then also part of our coaching time and getting able to support our teachers. Our grades 6 through 8 teachers are currently going through a pilot process. So they are implementing 2 different publishers so that we can select the best materials for us. And in fact, they've completed round 1 of their pilot, which actually switching this week and moving to their other set of materials. And then we're starting to gear up for the TK-12, ELA, ELD, so English Language Arts and English Language Development pilot. That work will begin in the spring. It will take us most of the school year next year for an adoption about this time of year from now. It's important to note that this is the first time in our district that we will do a combined English Language Arts and English Language Development adoption, so that the materials will be better aligned to support our students, and that's really important. In the last adoption for ELA in 2002, that was not an option for us, but we have that option this time, and we're going to take advantage of that, so that our students will be better prepared on both sides for ELA and ELD.
Can I ask why it wasn't an option before?
Because, remember, so in 2002, the standards had just been adopted in 97. And so they were gearing up for that. The ELD standards were not in place in time for them to actually incorporate the new standards into the materials. They had gotten adopted after, I believe it was 2000. And so they hadn't had enough time to incorporate it. So you see ELD support actions like read it slower or put kids in small groups, but you don't actually see ELD lessons incorporated into the materials. And so that's what will happen with this adoption. And then also we will begin work on our high school math adoption, and the committee, we're forming a committee now to do that.
Is that the committee? Because
so what we ask for is 2 teachers. So at elementary, we ask for 2 teachers from each school, and so we get a representative of all the grade levels that way, or multiple representatives. And then at the secondary, we ask for a representative from each grade level at each school. So we have 3 good systems. So there are, I think there were almost 50 teachers that worked on the the elementary math adoption, and there are, I believe it's about 15 or 20 teachers working on the middle school math. In the past, they were on a 7-year cycle. So every 7 years, you can see a math adoption, and you can see an ELA adoption, and others of science and social studies. But when it was the severe budget cuts, they had put a stop to the adoption as we started going into Common Core. And so this is actually, the math adoption is the first adoption for Common Core. So it's actually off, I believe it is 12 years since we've had, 11 years since we've had that. So it's much longer than the other. All right, so then our next area under curriculum and development is professional development. And if you read our plan, there's a lot of dollars attached to this item as well. As Beth mentioned, that with the instructional materials, the adoption is very expensive. They're at about $100 a student per book, and so just on average. So it's obviously big ticket items to say that we've done ELA or math adoption. On professional development, we've also spent a lot of money buying subs or staff time. That's where a lot of our dollars have gone. So the Common Core, we're looking at transitioning to Common Core, and some of our topics include ELD and literacy strategies, writing assessments and evaluation, student engagement strategies, models of instruction delivery, deconstructing our standards and performance expectations. We've also had training on unpacking our standards, so what does the standard really mean and how do we chunk it so we can have students learn it fully. Several sites have also worked on increasing the rigor and professional development on that. And we're beginning to work on our delivery for inquiry-based instruction so that we have another model of instruction besides our skills-based instruction so that our students, one of our 21st century skills is for students to have good inquiry processes. So we're working on that. Our instructional coaches have been out working with our teachers. They have been modeling lessons. They have been planning and co-planning for teaching lessons together. And they've been providing feedback by sitting in the classroom and working with the teacher and sharing with them about lessons and things to continue to work on. They've also worked on very specific topics such as accountable talk, lesson objectives, workshop strategies, Google Apps for educators, incorporating technology into their lessons. So a wide variety of what they're working on with teachers in their classrooms. And then we've had our district-wide articulation day where we looked at data. We provided opportunities for collaboration. Our content area design teams, those teams have come together and given us input and feedback on what we're doing in the different content areas that are secondary. It provides us with some focus for our community and for where we're going with other actions, and also provides leadership for our teachers to be able to contribute to where we're going as a district. And if you recall back in when we were looking at Goal 6, that was a part of our process, and so that's a place where we can define the goals. Planning and collaboration time, we have an early out at our elementary schools that's consistent on Tuesdays. We have a late start for our secondary schools, but additionally we provided last summer some time for teachers to work together in collaborative groups. We gave them extra hours to come in and work together and plan on whatever they needed, whether it was unit planning or assessment planning, and then finding resources, and we're going to continue that process this June. And if you recall, back in January, we had an opportunity for our teachers to have some professional development and rolled into that time as additional collaboration time. So if they attended the Google Apps, Google Classroom session, then they could collaborate with the group about implementing Google Classroom in their own classroom. So that's some time for them to collaborate. So we created those opportunities, which was part of our goal in our LCAP. Science fellows and our next generation science standards or secondary science teachers have had an opportunity again for leadership to learn about our next generation science standards, how best to implement them in their classrooms, and to take that process back to their sites and work together with other teams. And then our special education teachers have also received quite a bit of professional development. They are working a process of universal design for learning so that they can support students so when they're in their special ed class and they can transition out. We've also worked with them on legally defensible assessment reports, implementation for student needs determination, and conducting effective alternative and augmented communication support. So how do our students communicate better when they're in their classrooms? Yes.
I have a question of your freshman coaches. How the coaches get trained?
So we have had a facilitator come in and work with them. They've had a few sessions at the beginning of the year, then they've been called directly during the school year. We also have opportunities for them to collaborate together as a team, and they meet every week and sort of share their own processes together. And then they've also been to quite a few conferences. So, for example, you'll see on the purchase order tonight, for some of them to a large web conference. And so they will sort of learn the strategy and then bring it back to the teachers as a trainers model. So lots of different ways for them to either learn strategies or coaching practices.
So how do you receive the same training?
Over time, yes, they will. But not all of them right now as a coach. I might come into your classroom as a coach and you might say, I want to work on accountable talk right now. And I might go to the 7 camps room and she might want to work more on classroom management strategies. I might go in the surprise classroom and she might want to work more on questioning strategies. So over time, we would get to the same place that, day to day right now, that every teacher's working on the same strategy, but there's consistencies in the areas that we're working on.
Regarding the English learners, would you explain the development versus the arts component?
So right now, if I were to walk in a classroom, I have a standalone English language development curriculum, and then I have an ELA curriculum, and they don't match up or line up together. So I might be reading a story during my English language arts time that has particular vocabulary words. It might have a reading strategy, some pieces like that. In my ELD, I might be working on a separate set of vocabulary that may or may not correspond to what I'm learning in the inner part of the day. I also have a different language strategy that I'm using that I may or may not use during English language arts or any other time of my day. So it's good stuff, it just doesn't match what we do the rest of the day or support the learning for the rest of the day. In the new, what they call program 2, where they're aligned and married together, the ELD time looks like a preview review time for ELA. So my vocabulary would line up, my strategies would line up, and so as an English learner, I would learn sort of the intro to the strategies, I would have a preview to vocabulary, I would go into my ELA lesson being able to access that lesson. And then at the end, and then obviously I start my ELD lesson with a review of what we did yesterday. So yesterday our vocabulary was, yesterday our strategy was, today we're going to go into this. And so, and then it brings in the language strategy that best suits what we're doing during the next time. So it's a much better aligned process. And so the students, in essence, will get their language strategy supported and their vocabulary supported most of their school day. And the teachers are not supporting them, especially. So you can see, this is a terrible picture, but it's really, this is what it looks like. This is a second grade professional development, and the teachers are actively engaged in learning together. You can see them sitting in groups. We try to model what we expect in our classrooms. So you see the use of technology, you see them, they're actually doing their reading in this training, where they're actually doing a close reading exercise that we expect the strategies and practices to be done in their classrooms. So you can see that they were actually very much more thrilled than the picture was. But, they kind of look like they're a bit more, another kind of really intense, I guess, is really what they're doing. And then you can see, this is the results of one of our coaching sessions, so during a feedback session. This is a teacher at Yorvita, and she had some coaching about having different responses from students. And so you see the back of their whiteboards. The kids were doing a math lesson, and they were sharing back their answers on the whiteboard. And she's checking for understanding. She's using her accountable talk strategies, which in a video would be much more fabulous, but in a photo you get a snapshot of what she's doing. So you can see the work that the coaches are doing being implemented in the classroom.
A quick way to understand, check understanding is excellent.
Yes, it is. It's very visual, and the teachers very quickly can scan and see that one got it, this one not so much, that one has a problem. Or in general, you can see a trend where kids are making an error together. Yes, and so that's actually some form of assessment that we talk about. So, one of the pieces that was a very big data point for us, if you recall our first LCAP, we actually had a goal specifically about students reading, the ELA, the English language students, sorry, I don't know what's in my head, are English proficient students, and so their accountability or we're accountable for them to become proficient English students, and so that would be a reclassified student. So they come to us as an English learner, not having a command of English, and then they become proficient in English. And so you can see, and I want to point out that on all the data slides, and just to point out this now, and I'll keep telling you, but anything that's a new piece of data that you have not seen, so for example, 2014-15, there's an asterisk and it's bolded, that is new data for you to look at. So that's part of why we're doing goal 1 and 2 tonight, not last month. So you can see that our number of students that have been reclassified were 642 for the 14-15 school year, which is down a little bit, but it's also a higher percentage of students, so it's declining enrollment. So we're still at 15.4%. As we were, as an ed services department, as we were looking at the increased reclassification rates for our district, we thought, okay, we're going to take the low-hanging fruit out first, and kind of dig into the middle, and then we get to this place where we just didn't quite have as many to reclassify, but our processes are working for our kids and are reclassifying at a higher rate than the state is, which has been hanging around 11-12%. 16 was a very high percent for the state that year. I think it was, I don't know, but it was a high percentage for the states, but then after that they pretty much maintained 11-12%. A couple things to remember is that we're increasing, but our reclassified English learners, and this is, I don't think Rowland's special with this, it's across the state, they are our highest performing group of students. So if we can reclassify an English learner student, they are our highest performing group of students in the district. So it's to our advantage to want to reclassify more, because we want them to perform well.
If you guys have questions, but by all means, just ask.
I don't know if I'm supposed to call on them, or
Yeah, that's fine, because you'll see them if I'm looking at you.
oh, points.
I think we're doing great compared to the state. What happened with 12-13 when we were higher? Was there a reason why?
That was
we went down?
We actually spent a lot of time looking at our students, and there's a tendency in elementary school, because you can certainly reclassify, you know, 3rd and 4th grade is not the first time you can reclassify kids. And if you're just not completely sure if your kid's ready and you feel like they still need the support, we usually hanging on to kids. And so we were not reclassifying, so that was where the 11.9 was. And so we looked at the data and said, you know, we really need to reclassify them because they do get support for 2 more years. So even though you want, you know, you think they're ready, but not super ready and way over the line ready, we should reclassify them. So that was sort of that boost in 16 and then 16.9 in 2012-13. But we thought, okay, after that, you know, we kind of taken that big chunk of kids out that we, you know, we slowly had. But the reality is that we just continue to reclassify students, and it's still working out for us. So our English learner support, so how are we getting there with those fabulous numbers? Our teachers are receiving professional development on the ELD standards and strategies. One of the places that we know we still have to work on is with our long-term English learners, LTELs. This again, we'll have an acronym in a second here. So our LTEL students, those are students who have been with us for 5 or more years and have not been classified until reclassified English learner. So we have to really support those students, and we're really looking at the data to support them. We have 2 coaches especially dedicated towards working with our EL teachers so that they can help our students move quicker. Our dual immersion teachers are working as well, because a lot of our English learners will be in our dual program. They're actually Spanish speakers that come to us and learn Spanish and put them into bilingual communities. And so they are working on Spanish interventions, and so they've got some professional development on that. They've also, dual teachers both at Rowland and Curry, they belong to a cohort with LA County Office of Ed, and they have the opportunity, they're a cohort of schools that are dual immersion schools, and so they have an opportunity to come together, they visit school sites, they share ideas, and so that's been very valuable to have other schools to share ideas with and to see good instruction occurring. Our instructional aides receive PE on Common Core and ELD standards, and our 7th through 12th grade, we have very specific teachers who teach our English learners in the ELD class. So like at the elementary school, it's just part of their self-contained classroom, it's a grade level we review our students, but it's their, in essence, their homeroom teacher or their cohorts. But at the middle school and high school, we have particular periods set aside for ELD 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And that course, and so those teachers have received additional training on their new materials, but also on strategies. So a lot of work, especially at the secondary level, on supporting our English language students.
Would it be possible when you do the chart next time, the percentage of English learners reclassified, that we can see the number of LTELs and also?
Sure. And actually part of the end of the year data will be to report on those LTELs. That is one of the areas.
Are there many in the high schools?
LTELs, yes. We have sort of a strange phenomenon. They're either LTELs or they're newcomers. It's kind of just, so they come to us, and many of our students come to us in secondary, so we have a big influx of 7th grade, beginning of 8th grade, and then we get a big influx again in 9th grade and then 11th grade. So there's a large number of newcomers, and then we have, and so if a kid's not a newcomer, then they are not taught to secondary.
So if they're taking that ELD class in high school, how are they doing with the other classes they have to be falling behind?
So the teachers in the other, so depending on what level of EL they are, so they're a level 1 or 2, like a newcomer, potentially would be, then they are in a SIDI class. I would go to a science SIDI class or history class. So the teacher is supporting them.
For high school, they have the SIDI classes.
Since there are a lot of English learner programs, do each school choose what they want, or does the district?
As far as our curriculum program, the district does.
So every school uses the same program.
Now they might supplement differently, but the core program is the same program. So our fabulous picture, we have some Hollandwood students. These are 5th graders, and they are EL students, and they're receiving some small group instruction. So the teacher has pulled them aside, and you can see that they're using their iPad and their technology to support their instruction. And then another facet of our curriculum assessment is our local assessments, or assessment system anyway, but our local assessments, which is to share with all of you. Our ELD portfolio, we have referred many times to it with our secondary teachers. Our ELD teachers have that in place. They're documenting and monitoring our kids on their skills towards English language proficiency. We're implementing this as a pilot at 2 of our elementary schools, and so we're working with grade levels to make sure that it's a useful tool on how best to roll it out to the teachers. And so we're doing that work currently, and we'll have some information to share in June about that. We continue our universal screening in elementary math and as well in ELA. So we're using the STAR math program, and then at lower elementary they're using the STAR literature assessment and then STAR reading once they become a problem over year. And we're using those assessments to, as a teacher, to support, go back and reteach, but also it gives you intervention ideas of what to do with a student who has a particular skill deficit, so it's very skills-based. And then we're also using the SBAC interims in English language arts and math, so in grades 3 through 8, we'll learn just like the SBAC. And those assessments are interim assessments. They're very narrow assessments compared to the SBAC. They're only testing just a cluster of the test as opposed to the whole planning assessment. So it's hard to share data between, but we can make some assumptions, and so we'll share some of that here.
I just wanted to comment, the STAR reading and STAR math is outstanding because it gives you the students' grade level. And so as a teacher, you could see where they are, they moved up, or they moved down, what do you need to work on.
And not only just their grade level, but within their grade level, the skills they're working on. And so just a reminder about our system. Before, our system was very much accountability. It was that end of the year kind of testing to say, how did our kids do? Did they cross the line? And were they proficient? And so that summative idea. But as we look at the new way of this is kind of our work of having kids have our standards, how are we teaching them and assessing them through the process, and then leaving us being high school or being college and career ready. So down at the bottom you see the formative assessment practices. Those are some of those things we saw, like with the whiteboards and instruction pieces teachers would do in the classroom. There's also the digital library that Brian has shared about before. There's some options in there that teachers can use in the classroom. If you go to the right, you see the interim assessments, and those are what we were using. In the past, we had benchmark type tests, and so instead of that, we're using the interim assessments for that, so we can do sort of a touch point on how our students are doing, but also give them experience with taking tests on computer and sort of the format of the test and some of that, but then also testing some of those key areas that we knew we needed to assess and follow through with as we went through the school year. And then up at the top is summative assessments, and those are benchmarked at the end of the school year and then the career of the students in 11th grade. So really that whole cycle of testing and assessment so that we can ensure that we are monitoring the students' progress and supporting them. It's just a very complicated document, but it's actually a very useful document. This is from Achieve the Core, and this is a 3rd grade math page. There's a page for each grade level in each of the 2 subjects. And what it does is it shares with us, so the standards are very broad, they're very deep. And so this document helps us to determine which, within the clusters for each of the standards, what are major, so, the super serious ones we need to teach, the supporting ones that help us get to the major ones, and then additional clusters that are also important. And so you can see that whole list on the left that's showing you, the green box, the blue box, or the yellow, which area they feel the standard is. And then on the right, you can see as you go through, you can kind of see how it flows through from K through 8th grade. So where's that piece of the puzzle? And then the bottom right, it shares with you the required fluencies for grade 3. So what is it that you absolutely must walk out of 3rd grade with so that you can be ready to do 4th grade and all the way through the system? So that's a place where we kind of said, okay, where are our priorities? Where do we need to spend the most time? And we use this document as part of our pacing process, but also in selecting the interim assessment. So where were those places where we need to focus the most, so a green box, and then looking at our SBAC information, where did we feel that we needed to assess our students the most and where to focus at. So looking at our fall assessments, and I'll explain the color coding as well. So overall, our students, 68% of them met or exceeded the expected standard. Now realize that this is a cluster, so in grade 3 it was about operations and algebraic thinking, and that was for SBAC interim in fall of 2015. So these are the percentage of students who scored at, near, or above the standard. So we can say the students are doing pretty okay. So 68% of them are. We separated it out between English language learners and English only students, and those are the orange bars. And then you'll also see our ethnic groups that are split out as well. And the reason that we've analyzed the data this way is that when we had the SBAC, the end of the year summative, we noticed that there was quite a large achievement gap between our ethnic groups and our English learners and our English only students. And so we are monitoring that, and so we wanted to share this with you tonight to say, you know, hey, we're looking at it and we're looking about it, but we're not there yet. One of the things I would like to point out is that in the summative, the claim that we're comparing this to is concepts and procedures, and we were at 65% at the end of the year last year. So that is the whole claim. So back here, that whole place, that's what you're looking at. This test is only on one of those. So when you see one of those green squares, that's one piece of it. So you're not comparing to say, we had 65% of our students and now we have 68. It gives you a number to say, yeah, we're doing okay, but remember we're looking at only a small part of that very big, what we would have considered a standard, but now it's a claim. So this cluster area is a small piece of it. So it's kind of like saying, here's my chapter test, and I want to compare it to the unit, and saying, how are the kids going to do in the unit if I only gave them the chapter test? So, yeah, it's kind of on the same content, but not exactly. So it's not the whole piece of it. So, but it does give us a place to sort of talk about it. Next year, when I'm standing up here having this very same conversation with you, we will be able to compare the two assessments and see how this group of third graders is doing compared to last year's group of third graders. But we don't have it. This is the first time we've given these assessments. So just like in the fall when we showed you about the spring aspects, some of this, we're kind of in that same place. So in order to make sense of that, I wanted to share that we were at 65% in the big cluster test. We wanted to, share that data.
Do you know how many students we're talking about here?
95.9% of our third grade class, which is about 1,100 kids, I think, just at the ballpark.
Do you have the data for the business learners breakdown?
I did not pull that, but that's part of what we're doing during ed services, to look at some of those pieces.
Now, of these 1,100, approximately 100 students, we don't know how many of those have been coming through the Rowland Unified School District versus ones that transferred in.
Correct, we did not pull that part of the data, but it's something to look at certainly. And then I'd like to share with you our grade 6. So this is comparatively the same block of instruction or cluster. It's the same claim, concepts and procedures. And as a comparison, at the end of the year, we were at 54%. Part of the reason we picked this cluster to test was that was a place we did not do very well. So, kind of doing a comparison. The other thing to remember that just like in STAR, the higher up in the grade level you go, the lower the scores tend to be. So we see that same kind of trend, and then we're looking at this data because there is such large gaps in this piece, and so we're looking to say what happened with our sixth graders because we are seeing those large gaps again.
But with the new time for that, and it was very difficult, right, to take this.
There were some glitches, yeah, it wasn't an easy process, and so there was a very large learning curve, but just like, the state testing last year, in some ways easier because the kids have been on the system and they have logged in before and done that and taken the test, but it's still a little bit difficult. It's not exactly.
That's why there's a big difference between variants.
And when you look at this data, do you look at how many kids were in each ethnic group?
Yes. So that's part of it because, if we have a small Asian population, for example, and just, 1 or 2 kids do very well, out of 12, I get a really high percentage, but I might have a very large Hispanic population. And so, yeah, we have to look at the sample size as well.
Getting back to the technology part of it, I can't imagine these kids, even for me, if I get stuck in something and I panic and I don't know what to do, I can imagine that would be a real problem.
Yeah, and I think the kids are digital natives, so they're a little less likely to panic. I think they tend to panic because we put a lot of pressure about assessment on kids, especially as they're older and they remember, they'll start testing. I don't think they tend to panic as much about the technology piece. I think they're a little more fearless to poke around and keep playing. But, the teachers are monitoring and if they get stuck on something, they can move them along technologically. I think it'd be nice if we could navigate.
And do the kids have an opportunity to practice in the computer math before the?
It depends on the school site, so they do different kinds of practicing. Sometimes the teacher will pull up a piece and, you know, kind of whole class go through it. Sometimes they'll practice in the labs or on, you know, on the device in their classroom. It just depends. And moving towards 8th grade, I'd like to point out again, it's the same plain concepts and procedures. When we did the state test, we were at 59%, but I want to point out that because of the fact that it's a, you know, 3rd through 8th grade test and then an 11th grade test in order to have our students, you know, in 9th and 10th grade take a test. When they were in a lower math class at the high school, so if they were in algebra 1 or lower, they took the same assessment. So just kind of finding opportunities to help catch them up or get them caught up quickly so that we're not working with them as their secondary students. So the first one that you see for elementary is a system called iRead, and those are grade K2 foundational literacy interventions. So those are no level skills, very introductory reading level skills, and it's a blended learning piece. So there's a piece of small group with the teacher, there's an online piece, and this is delivered by the classroom teacher. So before they go out somewhere, this is something a teacher in the classroom can work with the group and do. System 44 is our grade 4 through 6 intervention. So these are students who are not reading well, they're at foundational literacy skill level. And also, the one advantage of System 44 is that it brings in grade level science and history lessons and information. So it's the content is not their reading baby content. They're reading grade level content that they're getting support to do so. So, and that is currently being delivered with an impact teacher, so an extra pushing teacher on their side or an intervention teacher. They are coming in and helping support that. The next one is compass learning. ELA and math, individualized learning paths. So you take an assessment at the beginning. The students are placed in a path of the lessons that they need to do. And we're doing a pilot with that. We have 250 students on the system right now. 70 of them are general education students, but they're special ed students. We're trying to individualize that instruction for our most needy learners, our special ed, so we can really focus in on their skill needs. At the secondary level, we have math 180 and read 180. And our intermediate schools and high schools are focusing on addressing the gaps, and they have a designated class. So I would be assigned a Read 180 section or period, or a Math 180 section or period. So that's available in all other secondary schools. Additionally, and this is a piece that we've heard from parents, was access to support for our higher level students and college level students. So SHMOOC is available to all of our students, grades 7 through 12. There's tutorials on there, there's course content. They can, you know, help with their algebra 1, their calculus, and the whole gamut. There's SAT, ACT, AP, IB, test prep, things like that. So it supports that whole going to college piece at a higher level student. And then we're forming adoption committees for grades TK through 12 for reading interventions. So looking at what we're piloting in elementary, but part of our adoption process will be an intervention piece as well.
So technically, an elementary school teacher would have a classroom where she would have a variety of students that all different one of these interventions. Some would be iRead, some would be System 44.
The iRead would be for primary. System 44 is for upgrade, so I would have 1 point. And the System 44 is for our most needy, lowest level. So those are at 3rd grade, you know, you read to learn, and then 4th grade you switch to learning. I'm sorry, learning for 5th grade. And then you read to learn. The System 44 is about those kids who are not ready to read to learn. So they're at that low level, and so it's truly an intensive intervention. And then if I still don't get it, as I become a secondary student, I would go into Read 180. So it's really those low-level learn to read functions. But I would only have one option as a teacher, except for if we were to push compass learning out of the pilot successful, that would be an option actually for all students. So I may struggle today on the lesson, I think I love the compass. I might always struggle, I'm on compass a lot. I might target a group of students to be on compass, and that's what compass can work. It's sort of, we can bop in and out of it a little more easy. But I read in the System 44 systematic daily instruction.
The Read 180 program, several years ago, they were that we weren't utilizing it to the fullest extent that we should, and we weren't getting the information that we really wanted. And it was decided to give it a trial a little bit longer to see if it was really going to work. Do you, like, yearly reevaluate that process?
Yes, we do. And part of the process is that it's especially Read 180, it's a very intensive program, a very scripted program to deliver. You have to, there's parts where the kids are on the computer doing a piece, there's parts where kids are doing their own independent work, and there's parts that are very teacher-directed. The teacher-directed lessons are very scripted. And so you have to have that dynamic teacher that can work with that small group, but also monitor the other two groups. And so you have to very much get the right teacher in place, and they have to be supported with professional development. And so we've been working over that process with our teachers to identify them. In the last year, we've been able to train our teachers, and so we've had to, in essence, start over with some of them. But we are watching the data to see if that's the right intervention. And part of that process for the reading intervention adoption, we'll be looking at that data. So looking at TK-12, what are we doing for reading intervention, and what's working, and what can we do to implement?
How long would it take you to decide? How many years?
I think we have enough data, probably from this year, that we can make a decision about what we're doing.
Do you have data tracking the usage of all of these and how many kids use each one?
Yes, we're monitoring.
They are grading and analyze this.
Yes, and so the iRead and the Compass Learning are both pilots right now, and so we're watching very closely to see that if that's something we want to continue. And then the System 44 we've used for a while pretty successfully, and we're working data on that as well. So part of our year-end report will be some of this data that we will have data to share.
I we can learn more about. And 2 years ago, I got a temporary ID. I said, it should
Yes, I have trouble saying it too, I understand.
It expired. Can we get an ID?
I can give you a Schmoot one because it's free and there's pretty unlimited, but the rest of them I have to identify to a student and that there's a cost per license. But I think we could walk you through classrooms if you'd like to see those.
Just in case of the public.
So the other part that was very important to our community was not only helping our students who are struggling to move on up into the ranks, but we also wanted to support our higher level students, and that was something we heard loud and clear from the community. So providing gate activities, accelerated and enhanced learning. So you will see at many of our school sites some STEM initiatives such as robotics, engineering, and the Technology Academy. You see an increase in APA honors class offerings. So not only necessarily new courses, but additional sections of courses. And so we're monitoring that with our high schools. Participation in Science Olympiad and robotics competitions, just, I guess it's been a week and a half or so that we just competed with the county Science Olympiad, and we'll be bringing those winners to you next month. And then robotics competitions, they're in a series right now, and they'll be wrapping up pretty quickly. We have some gate opportunities. In fact, this last Saturday, we had some opportunities for our kids to participate. And then we've also partnered with the California Science Center and UCLA to help us support our next generation science work. So we just have not stepped up into science work. They've been focusing solely on ELA and math, but we've moved ahead with that to support our kids. And so some examples of this that our students are given opportunities to extend their learning. So these are some Jolly Jaguars that are utilizing their technology to support their personalized learning. So these students have been given individual assignments that there's a group section and an individual section, and so you see them all helping together, but they're working on their projects on their laptops. Additionally, there was a desire between both staff and the community to have additional support, such as summer school for our students, so providing opportunities for our GATE students, our English learners, or at-risk students to get support during the summer. In this last summer, we provided opportunities for both our GATE students and our English learner students, and this summer we will add our at-risk students into the mix, and we'll add sections for them. Grades 7 and 8, during the school year, we have intervention classes for English and math, ELD. We have opportunities for expansion in world language and arts. We have those classes as electives. And then grades 9 through 12, credit recovery and the core content. So during the school year, we may have a class that I haven't passed, and there's a few different ways that they can do that. And then additionally, we have opportunities for kids to take advanced classes and additional classes, so a 7th grade option for our students. And that wraps up goal number 2. I told you it was a medium one. That was the biggest. That's like half the LCAP right there. Was that goal number 1? It's a lot of stuff. But again, a lot of our core work that we do with our students and supporting them learning. Goal number 2, we have that fabulous picture with our board member, board president, congratulating our Nogales graduate, and then we have some rolling graduates at the bottom. And we have a great picture of our Santana graduates, but we couldn't find it to put in the PowerPoint. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere on somebody's hard drive. This goal is about college and career readiness, increasing our 21st century skills. So increasing the percentage of graduates who complete our A to G and enroll in AP and IB honors courses, expanding and enhancing our career tech program and STEM courses and activities throughout the district. Required metric is that we increase the accessibility of courses for AP and A to G and all of that. And it's sort of funny because we felt like we provide that number. Our number was kind of getting kids to, that if we get the kids in the program, we get them to be successful. So if I get it in an AP class, we are pretty successful with that kid. We get a student in an IB class, we're pretty successful with that. And the required metric was about having access to it. And so it's interesting because we put the one metric in and we actually have both metrics in there because they're both required. So just wanted to share with you that we're being successful with our students, we just need to get more kids in there. We are looking at increasing our enrollment in our honors classes, which then lead us into our AP and IB programs. Increasing our career tech offerings and making them more matching with our industry standards and their needs. And then our STEM courses and really taking a look at what we offer for that. So our first metric that I want to share with you is about graduation rates and dropout rates. Now the first question I know you want to ask me is that 82.4 and 9.2 do not add up to 100%. And just a reminder that they're calculated differently, and so that's why the numbers don't always match. And it doesn't account for students who leave us and go somewhere else, because this is a cohort rate. So we start with our freshman class, and we count their little noses, and then we go to sophomore year and we count their little noses again and find the ones who we lost and figure out where they went. And then we do the same thing as 11th graders, and then in 12th grade, how many of them actually graduated. So dropouts are about counting their little noses along the way, and graduation rate is about how many of those 9th graders actually walk across our stage as seniors. So there's a little bit of discrepancy on kids who leave us, and so that's why it doesn't quite add up to 100%. And that's always the question. It seems like that should match up, but it doesn't. Because kids go to alternate programs, some students take an extra year, some students are special ed and they get to go till 21, some of them go into alternative programs, and so it's just kind of a sort of a day nightmare, but it works. So anyway, on the graduation rate, which is the bars, you can see that we were a little up and down, but we are much up this last year. And this is the 13-14 data, which is the class of 2014. This is our most recent data, so it's very hard to affect your graduation rate because right now, in about a month, I'm going to get the class of 2015's data. Okay, kind of nice to know, and it's good, but those kids are gone. They've been gone. So the data's not always as timely as we'd like. So we work really hard on this one, but it's always looking like we're looking in the years. So we do have a nice increase there, and I'm going to explain when I get into the demographics about how that occurred. And then you see that correspondingly our dropout rate has also dropped. So not exactly correspondingly, but you can obviously be graduating with you, just not dropping that one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the dropout can actually be a student that moves.
So what is supposed to happen is if I am a Rowland High student and I move and I go over to Hacienda La Puente and I enroll at Wilson High School, what is supposed to happen on the state compact system, which is our longitudinal system for tracking all of our 6 million children, is that Hacienda La Puente should go into the compact system and pick up our Rowland High students. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes kids are truly dropouts and they move and don't show up at a new school. But the other piece that's difficult is if they move out of state or out of country. So if they move to Texas or they go back to Mexico or to Mexico, then there's no way to actually verify that information sometimes. And so there's a piece of that data that's difficult to track.
It's not counted as a dropout.
It's not counted as a dropout if we know that they've gone when we have put like a records request for them. But sometimes we don't always get the records request.
I was going to ask you, the new sophomores, juniors, and seniors that come in brand new to Rowland, are they considered for graduates on here, or they're not part of it?
No, it's only when my graduating rate. So the dropout, so the graduation rate or the dropout rate follow the class of 14 back to The class of, you know, the class of 2011 graduated, there were 9th graders, and I counted their noses for 4 years. So, studied that right, 11, 12, 13, 14, yes.
So if somebody transfers in the 11th grade and they graduates.
So we pick them up in a number. So I get to, so if my student that went to Wilson, I get to take that number off the denominator, dividing by the percentage, right? Because I know what that kid wins, not a dropout. Same thing happens if the kid comes from Wilson over to our school, then we add to our denominator. And so that's why each year you get your calculation, and then you add it all up, and it's a very complicated algebra problem. Yeah, the logarithms of figuring that out is kind of frightening. Okay, so looking at our graduation rates, you see that we've increased in 13-14, and it's in bright yellow so that you can see that that's brand new data. We can highlight it for you. We were actually hoping to have the 2015 school year data for you to share tonight. That's part of why we traded our numbers, but we haven't seen it yet. So you see that Nogales High School has a very nice increase in their numbers. You also see that our Hispanic Latino numbers are up, our economically disadvantaged, our students with disabilities are up, as well as our English learners. We are looking into our what happened with the Asian kids and what happened with Rowland High School. Part of it is just a sample size question. Part of it is looking at demographics of where kids are. I will tell you that each week our Ed Services Department meets, and each week we look at data. And so this has been, the graduation rate and dropout rate has been a topic of conversation for many of those meetings. It's probably been the most talked about, and then our second most is our probable reader data, so we kind of broke in both of those quite a bit. And so really delving into, what's that nuance, but I'm going to tell you the difference in our Asian population was a difference of 6 students. And so it's about the sample size with our Asian students. So 6 students difference got us 2%. So it's about sample size is kind of that problem with that one. But there are other factors that we're looking into. So.
The difference between the whole district and 13-14, which is 87.6, it's not an average of the 2 high schools. It includes the continuation.
So there's a weird phenomenon that has occurred over time. So I believe, Brian, was it the 11-12 that was the switch when Santana got pushed back?
9-10.
9-10, thank you. So what happens is if I leave Nogales High School and I go to Santana, for purposes of the graduation rate, I'm still considered a Nogales student. So there is no graduation rate for Santana. They consider it like pretty much they would have been a non-grad. And so it's a graduation recovery system is what Santana is. And so they sort of can't be held accountable because those people would have walked. If they could stay at Nogales, they would have walked away from our school. So they don't assign them one because every continuation high school, every alternative program that supports credit recovery for students would have a terrible rate. And so they didn't want to penalize them for doing the right thing to support those first go back to their home school.
The Asian population you said was 6 students. So how about for Rowland High School overall, from 93.9 to 92.7, approximately how many students would that be?
I think I'm going to take a bad guess that I think it's within, I think it's about 12 kids.
Okay.
I should have written in my notes because
No, I was just wondering.
Yes. And then a couple things I want to point out is that as we were looking at the data, Nogales should get props for doing some good stuff for kids. I don't want to take away from that. Because I do believe that some of the processes they put in place as a school have really supported students that increased counseling and attention to the issue, all those things. But additionally, we also looked at cleaning up a lot of our data processes. So are we truly accounting for kids who are graduating? Are we supporting them and sending them to Santana or giving them that 7th period or whatever we need to do to get them to graduate? Provide a case of support because of course, those kids needed a case at that time. So are we doing all of those things to get them graduated? And so I think it's a lot of both of those things of watching the system, monitoring the kids, supporting the kids, and then just paying attention to the data as well.
Yeah, because just, when we look at a school that's underperforming, we try to understand why they're underperforming. I think we need to do the same. As the schools exceeding, like on this one, where they've shown tremendous progress, we should look to see what they're doing. We might put a model someplace else.
Correct. Yes, and we have done that because yeah, we wanted to see what we did, because yeah, we want to see what you did right, keep doing the right thing. So as we move into the dropout data, and again, in yellow, right, we wanted to see what we were doing there, and so overall, our dropout data decreased significantly. Rowland High School went up, and Nogales went down significantly. Again, it's the same with Asian, and so it's actually kind of it's the same issue of the sample size, and kids who don't graduate many times are dropouts. They might drop out as a senior, and then not become any part of that graduation pool, but we are looking into that piece because it's just sort of an odd phenomenon for us, but it is a very small number of students, and this is 12 students difference in the Asian groups of how many students that is. So it mirrors the graduation rate somewhat. You can see the increases in the same places. Actually, a decrease is an increase for us because you want it to be low, you want it to be 0. So it's a good thing when it's 5.0 and 6.6 instead of 12.1. But you want to, we want to see what we've done to support kids to keep looking dropping out. Again, I think it goes back to cleaning up our data. I think it goes back to supporting kids. I think it goes back to increased counselors. I think it goes back to increased opportunities for kids to make up credits and in whatever many fashions that occur at the school.
There was a interesting article in I think it was the LA Times just a couple of days ago on the parachute kids that are coming over, and the characteristics of those children are changing, and the reasons that they're being sent here are changing. And I was wondering, when I read that article, if that could be accounting for some of this.
Yeah, it's hard, we can identify some, but we don't identify all. So yes, we look at that demographic piece and support work. And I want to point out that additionally, the data that we're going to share in the annual report includes our AHE graduates. We don't have that information. We will be closer to having that information as we get to June and the end of the school year. Typically, we have about a 40% rate of students meeting our AHE rates, and we are higher than our neighboring districts, except for one of our neighbors. Additionally, there's been a change. There's as the 11th graders, when they used to take the STAR test, there was an additional test that they had to take for the early admissions program, which would qualify them to say, I've met the minimum requirements for either English language arts or math, kind of the placement test version of the test. And that's been rolled into the SBAC, so every student in this has an opportunity to do the EAP test. And that assumes that if they do this, they meet the EAP requirement, that they are ready for college level work at the end of their 11th grade. And that requires them to get a 4 on the rubric for each of those assessment items. So it's a high level, and we have about 25% of our students who have reached that typically. So we will share that number with you, but I don't have any midterm data because those are end of the year pieces, and we're sharing before others. Another piece of our college and career readiness, a big part of it is our counseling support. Mr. Chang has worked with our counselors on really standardizing our processes for supporting kids. Each of our schools are doing great things to support our kids. How do we do it all better? So let's take these best practices and do them all together. So that's what we've been working with them. So these monthly meetings, we've really been aligning practices and strategies and how do we do the work and where's our work and how do we prioritize our work, and including some of the CCGI work, the California College Guidance Initiative. So how do we support kids as they're on their journey to going to college? What's that work look like? We have LCAP counselor, long-term professional learner counselor. Part of their duties are to support LCAPs, but also foster youth students, because those are students that are struggling. Typically, our foster students are high dropout risk, and so really supporting them. So we have counselor hours dedicated to that. As a board, we've made a decision to really support our counselor ratios, and by contract, we have at the middle school a ratio of 550 to 1, and our current ratio of our students is 489 to 1, so a very low ratio compared to the expectation, which is a good, like less kids, that's a good thing. At the high school, we expect a 420 to 1 ratio, and we're actually sitting at 403 students per counselor, so again, a good ratio. And I want to put that in perspective for you. In 2008, the last time we had a lot of money in the state average was about 810 students to 1. So our expected ratio is about half of that. And that's for all secondary schools. And then in 2016, when times were not so good, as you recall, or sorry, 2015, it was about 1,016 to 1. So the ratio went up as times got bad. As a district, we really reduced our ratio. So I just we've seen that evidence back on the graduation rate, back on the dropout rate. When you see the A to G completion rates, you'll see the evidence as well for that. And then work with CCGI, getting our kids on their monitoring, self-monitoring and supporting the network for being college ready. Additionally, we've spent a lot of money and time and effort on our AVID program. I'm sorry.
The long-term English language learners, what does the counselor actually do to help them talk to the teachers?
It depends on what the student needs. So sometimes it's support because a lot of times they may not have support to get their homework done at home because there's no one who speaks English. It might be, accessing tutoring or support, that kind of thing. It might mean giving them a support class. It might mean just checking in with them and seeing how it's going. The whole gamut of services. Sometimes it's community resources that they need to be successful in school. So yeah, there's all of those things that counselors do well. Our AVID program, we know that AVID is a successful process for getting kids to go to college. And it's targeted for first generation students, low socioeconomic status. That's the program design. And we do a really good job identifying our students in our district that are examples of that, and we support our students. And so we have increased our electives by 80% the number of our students since 2014, which means we went from 191 students in the program to 344 students. So I think that's a kudo, because those 344 kids are not going to college. And they probably were not in that practice or in that expectation of going because of being a first generation college student, kind of just navigating the system in some instances, but then also that idea that they can't take those high level classes and be supported, because an important part of that is having the tutoring process that goes with that. And so we see success with our students. All of our AVID sites have their AVID library materials for their school-wide growth. The instructional strategies are part of their professional development. The socials and the program specialists are AVID trained, so they will be able to support that process, not only in the AVID class, but across all curricular areas. So that's really great work.
Isn't we also very many of our schools?
All of our secondary schools have the program. I'm sorry, except for San Antonio, but they do the whole population. The junior high and high school, so both of our 7, 8, and 7 comprehensive schools. And then also we have an AVID elementary school at home. Start the process over there. So we can see our college curve as readiness, and this is Okolani. She's our counselor at Kiana, and she is meeting with a BA student and already getting his little 4-year plan all scheduled out for him so he can, or 6-year plan, so that he can get it started on where he's going. So we're definitely having that conversation. Another part of our goal 2, again, remember goal 2 has devices and professional development for technology. All that infrastructure stuff was back in, I think, goal 4. So in educational technology, we have lots of professional development going on. We have a community of practice. It's a group of teachers that come together. They physically come together once a month. They electronically get together once a month. And they are working through implementing strategies and practices and tools in their classrooms. And it's just a community of learners coming together. They have a facilitator, but it's really about where they want to go. It's a really great model for professional development. We have our Mashup Mondays, where teachers can just come and learn about whatever the topic is that Monday. We have 3 topics each week. We've had ed camps where teachers can come and learn quite a bit about different topics in there. We've had opportunity to send teachers to both the National Q Conference and the local area Q conferences, so when teachers being trained. And just, I believe it was 2 weekends ago, there were teachers that were at the Coaching STEAM Conference. So again, how to incorporate those STEAM activities into our lessons. Don't want to leave our parents out, so we're going to go back on goal 3, where we have parent education. We have our parent tech nights. Last presentation, you saw our early parents with their QR codes and their iPads. We will be having one at Rowland Elementary on April 21st as well, so I'm excited to come. So we will continue to increase our parents' technological awareness of how we use technology in the classroom and getting them onto the system. A digital literacy curriculum. We have lessons from TK through 12. Randy Miller, our technology coach, she has organized those lessons so that we can support our teachers moving towards using technology in the classroom and becoming digital citizens. Increasing our work with 21st century classrooms and future ready planning. We're doing that now to look at how we are incorporating technology in a systematic way, both devices and pedagogy and support for that, technology support, community support, all of those things. And so we have an example of our kiddos using some technology to boost their reading skills. These are lower than first graders, and they're using their iPads at a reading center. And so this was during small group instruction time. So The teacher had a small group that she was working with. We had a group on iPads, we had another group doing some other activities, and so rotating through their centers. And the primary teachers know very well how that center works and how to support kids. But the kids are working independently, but also working together. As we shift to career tech education, we have our course outlines that are aligned to the model curriculum. So a couple of years ago, the CT came out with different industry strands, and we needed to align our curriculum to those pieces and the model standards. We are in the process of reviewing our pathways, and we were just awarded the CT grant, the Career Tech Education Incentive Grant. You remember me say that CT doesn't quite spell that way in my head. This is an opportunity for us to revamp our pathways and really make them more current to our industry standards and match up with our industry partners and options that we have within our school district to support our local community. So the CTE teachers were also trained with the CCGI, the California College Guidance Initiative. So how do we support those kids in their career classes to also become college ready? We have a requirement that we have advisory committee meetings, but we also have them come in and support us with information that's relevant to the topic, so new information and practices. 26 of our career courses are articulated with Mount SAC, which means that if our students complete our course, they get to go into the next level at Mount SAC. So instead of starting back at 0, they get to go, they get the BS, the college credit for the course, and go into the higher level. And then 14 of our CT courses are also AGA groups, so taking a career tech course can also get you into college. Those classes are all for elective credit.
Do you indicate any type of certification?
Some of the pathways have a certification process, so they can actually an industry certification, but we also have a pathway that can complete our senior seminar class and get our own pathway certification, which we take out the community for. And so we see some of our career tech students on the right. You see one of our fashion design students showing off her work. And then on the left, you see some of our senior seminar students. And so in the next couple weeks, we will have our senior seminar presentations. And so the students are in small groups, and they will present a project that's based on whichever career pathway that they have. They have a group project and presentation about that, and they actually have judges. And so this was a group from Nogales that was presenting and sharing. So this is just the children pathways last year. And then there's some more pizza, because pizza still happens. Pizza happens a lot. Pizza happened last week, this last week, and will continue this week. Dr. Mitchell would like us to change the flavors of the pizza, but we're all good. So I just want to share with you, I don't want to read the slides to you again, but I do want to share with you that we have been doing some of this work. So our LCAP Council had a meeting on February 16th, and we reviewed the process for revising the LCAP. They also had an opportunity to start giving us some feedback, so they were one of the first groups to give us feedback towards that. As well, we've had our DLAC and our Superintendent's Parent Council, so the two required groups. We have met with them, and they have given us some input and feedback. We've also met with our ARE, we met with their leadership group to have some feedback and input from them. We meet with CSCA, I believe it's next week. But we've also had our first community and employee meetings. They were on March 3rd at Rowland High School. And we saw many of you there, so you know what they look like. And we had last week also, we had our first 2 student lunches. So 2 opportunities for pizza. And we met with Nogales High School and also Oswald, and we included 5th and 6th graders through 8th graders in Oswald to try to get some of that elementary voice in the conversation. And this week we have an opportunity for Alvarado, Ibarra, and Ibarra will include those elementary students. So we get that balanced voice of secondary and elementary. And then I also want to point out that the survey opened since our last meeting. And as of 4 o'clock today, we had 306 surveys turned in already. So they're starting to come in and they're starting to give us information.
How are the students selected?
We asked the principals to select their students, and we asked them to give us a group, depending upon the size of the school, 25 to 40 students. And we asked them to have it represent their school. So it's a microcosm of their school. So if, for example, they were 55% Hispanic, I expect that we have the students to be Hispanic. We asked for the gamut of students. I asked for at-risk kids, I asked for English learners, I asked for high achievers, I asked for active kids, I asked for kids who just came to school with their head down, and the whole range of middle. And so we get quite a variety of students, and very well representative of the school, and very willing to share their experiences with us. We have a little trouble that we're in the lunch period and they all want to tell us about things and we have to talk fast. But yeah, we do represent, we don't just get, all the good kids or all the kids we like. We do represent the school. Well, they're all good, but that's why I put the quotes, but stereotypical, good kids. So, in fact, I have to share that I was at Roosevelt's and I asked the kids to tell me why they think that, what group they represent. And the one kid said, I think I'm the bad kid. And I said, why do you think you're the bad kid? He said, well, I was a bully, but I'm fixed now. I'm no longer a bully. That's what it is. So whatever we've done to fix them, and I did actually talk to him after about why that was true. So learning from experience of doing well, that process of fixing our bullies. All right, and so that is our presentation for this evening. Any other questions?
Thank you. That was very detailed. Next, public comments on closed session items. With that, then, we will adjourn to closed session at 5:26 p.m.